Time for the show. Mr. Ridgely, how the
Mr.
hell are
Madison.
you?
I am well. Yourself?
I am fantastic. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, edition, whatever you want to call it, of our lovely program here, The End of the Night, brought to you by probably the greatest film distribution company for independent filmmakers, Film Hub. If you're an independent filmmaker and you want to get your film on several platforms through an honest and wonderfully reliable company, seek out Film Hub. They are a fantastic company, and I can't speak more highly of them than I do. All kidding aside, they're really top-notch for independent filmmakers. So seek out Film Hub when your film is ready to roll.
Oh, that's really hard to follow, and I have to discuss StreamYard right now. Many people ask us what program we use to broadcast to make it look so professional and cool. That would be StreamYard. Be sure to take a look at them.
StreamYard, yes indeed. Hi Carrie, how are you? Hi Scott, how are you? Oh, she was saying hi to Scott. She wasn't even saying hello to us. That's kind of...
Wow, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
She was just saying hi to Scott in the car.
So I'm taking the hi back. So it was a crazy weekend, Mr. Ridgely. On Friday night, my wonderful daughter had her prom, which was super exciting. She had a wonderful time. She had a beautiful dress on and was just was the belle of the ball and had a fantastic time. So that was awesome. By the way, I'm David Lee Madison. This here is my co-host Joe Ridgely. Again, welcome to The End of the Night. And we have a really big show tonight, but I just want to chew everybody's ear off for a minute because this is it was a fun weekend. So my daughter had her big prom on Friday night, and then on Saturday, Joe, I bet you I could give you 100 guesses on what I did, and you in the never in a trillion years would nail this one.
Cried all day Saturday because your little girl's growing up and going to be leaving soon?
No, that's literally every day. Every day that happens, I cry like a baby. I know that she's hey Ken, how are you? Going off to college soon. On Saturday, I went out and I bought a horse. I bought a harness racing horse, and oddly enough, his name is going to be Mr. Hush. That's the horse's name. And you can bet on Mr. Hush Horse on racetracks in the Northeast coming this fall. So if you're at the racetrack, put all your hard-earned money down on Mr. Hush because he's going to win. Oh my! Also this weekend, and it's very rare. You know, usually at this point of the show, I like to talk about films or toys or something that a geek like myself likes, and a whole bunch of geeks like you guys out there like me like. And tonight I actually want to talk. I never usually talk about films that are not like hidden treasures or older films, but there's a new film that just came out recently. I think it just came out within the last couple of months. And the film is called Spontaneous. And there it is with Catherine Langford and Charlie Plummer. I have absolutely nothing to do with this film, sadly. I wish I did. And it was really just a really, really smart and fantastic film. And tonight, because I love this film so much, and because I reached out to one of my dear friends, J.W. Caldwell, who's a great, just a great film mind altogether. Him and I spar online like vicious cats and dogs, but we truly love each other. J.W. I met several years ago when Mr. Hush came out. I was doing an NBC affiliate in Pennsylvania, and JW was the on-air movie guy and movie personality, and ever since then we hit it off. He's just a great guy. I asked JW, who also has his own podcast called Loud and Nerdy, to join us for a few minutes tonight to discuss this film, Spontaneous, because I just want to hear his thoughts and for him to articulate what he thought of the movie. And Joe, I know I also asked you to watch it. And I would love for you to stay on and be a part of this conversation. So is JW available?
It appears that he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. J.W. Caldwell. Jay, how are you, pal?
Hey, David, thank you for having me on. Joe, nice to meet you.
You as well.
Great show going on here. I'm excited to be here. And I got to tell you, you told me to watch this movie, and you gave me a leg up. And now I feel like I've got like my own little like treasure that I can hide in my heart and pass out to people I like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what's so funny, JW? It's that sometimes movies deserve to get like a cult following and to have like a groundswell of love and affection. And for some reason, this movie just doesn't seem to be getting it, but it seems to be so richly deserved because it's so smart and it's so.
It has so much going on, and one of. I often think, when you're looking at movies, you're looking at horror films especially, teen horror films are lazy. Most of them are incredibly lazy. They go for the PG-13. They do everything in their power to not actually scare people, and they do everything in their power to actually not like offend or do anything. They don't want to get too out of hand. And what I love about this movie, and it's one of the great allegory horror films that have been made in the last 10, 15 years, the allegory of this Spontaneous, I don't want to give too much away because it's such a great movie and it needs to be experienced, but the allegory of what it stands for, our kids going to school every day where we've had active shooters and we've had people going in and all these different things. And the film isn't necessarily about active shooters, but it has that allegory of what happens to a high school when weird things or events happen to the kids in the high school. And it is one of the single greatest like allegory movies, you and I were talking about it. Heathers is the one that springs to mind. The script for Heathers is so sharp, so razor sharp, even to the point where it's borderline offensive at times, right? I mean, Heathers
absolutely.
Can be, you know what I mean? And this movie has it, and what it really has going for it, this Catherine Langford girl, she is one of the stars in the making. She's done 13 Reasons Why, which is a huge hit on Netflix. She did a show on Netflix called Cursed, which is basically the Excalibur. It's a show based on a comic book that deals with the Lady in the Lake and Excalibur. And she's done a couple other things. She was in Knives Out, for example. She's one of the minor characters in Knives Out. So she's getting a really good billing around the world. But in this movie, she is amazing, and incredible.
And you couldn't be. More truthful. She is amazing. But you know what's also great about this movie, JW, is that she's not the only standout performer because the Plummer is absolutely fantastic.
I told my wife, I leaned over to my wife when we were watching, and I said, these two should make movies together forever. Like, they should just, find whoever their agents are and go, hey, can you get me on the same film? And if we can just, we have 10 minutes together. Because that's one of the great things about the movie. So Heathers is razor sharp. Great sharp wit, very great humorous, nasty kind of thriller. This, it has such a sweet edge to it. It becomes such a sweet, you're nervous about where it's going to go in the hour and 41 minutes. It's a very quick movie. But the sweetness between the two leads is so, and actually, even between her and Tess, her best friend in the movie, is really amazing. And that girl's been on a lot of things. She's actually been in Riverdale. Her name is Haley Hall. She plays a character named Tess. So these are all people you might have seen in other things, but this movie gives them a place to totally find characterizations, totally get out there. And for an hour and 41 minutes, you're on the edge of your seat just going, I hope this doesn't happen. I hope. and you're just fingers crossed that these guys are going to make it.
And it's just absolutely stunning. And the filmmakers never ever take, if you really watch this movie closely, they never take the easy way out. Even when you think they're going to, they kind of give themselves an alley-oop to do something that's kind of cheesy or kind of funny, but they never take that direction. They always misdirect you, and they always really just a fantastic film. And there's so many metaphors, JW.
Oh yeah,
It's a metaphor for everything that's going on in society right now.
And this is one thing you and I have talked about. We love teen horror films. Like you and I both have talked. You know, we grew up on Heathers. We grew up on slasher films. We love those things. How many horror films are you actively rooting for the kids in the movie?
Oh, very rarely. Usually you're rooting for the bad guy.
No, but you're rooting for the killer.
Yeah.
You're rooting for the killer. This movie, you're like, I please, I don't want that to happen to any of these characters. And what makes it so special, and I think one of the things that I actually, for me and you, because I don't know how big a fan Joe is with regards to movies, but the movie tie-in stuff is really clever as well. There's a tombstone in this movie that I desperately am thinking about stealing a tombstone. But the problem is I'm a big movie fan. I already have my tombstone already picked out, like the idea of what I want on my tombstone from a different movie. But the tombstone that's picked in this movie is absolutely perfect. But mine would be, I was thinking about it, I'm a Blade Runner fan, so middle Blade Runner, he meets Tyrell, and the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Has always been something I feel could be a great epitaph on a tombstone. But the tombstone in this is perfect, and everything is perfect. And also, it has one of the quintessential questions: what happens to the stickers on the back of minivans? How brilliant is that joke? Because you're sitting there and you're watching it, and it happens, and then it really happens in the movie, and then you go, I've never actually thought about that in my life, and now all I can do is think about it.
And you know what? And very much like Heathers, which was what really touched us when we were kids about Heathers, is that they spoke in kind of a human way that was foreign to films. In this film, they speak like dialogue that was so hip that my daughter was like, who's in high school, is like, wow, this is like the first film that I've ever seen where the kids speak like kids do. And
yeah, and it's got a great script, and like the two I was touching upon, I did a quick review on my page and getting ready for the podcast on Tuesday, and the two things that I equated to: Heathers for the razor sharpness with regards to the horror and thriller aspects, and I think it's really akin to The Breakfast Club in the sense that The Breakfast Club, when that movie came out, it was one of those movies that you jumped into and everybody found a character, everybody found people they knew, and I think this movie could be that movie for this generation. I know you were thinking about that.
Yeah, I would desperately love to push this film to the masses so that it gets the cult following it so richly deserves. Sadly, I just don't think it's going to ever, gain the traction that it deserves, because I'm not sure smart films are really popular anymore.
We've had this discussion. Yes. I would say the other thing that kind of like has been in the way of me promoting it to different people I know right now, it is insanely violent. And so while that works for horror fans, and most teen horror films are kind of violent, but they're not, they go right up to the edge. This one doesn't go right up to the edge. It goes over the edge, jumps over the edge, and has funny bits about it. I mean, the single best line in the movie might be, can I get those back? They're talking about shoes that are covered in blood.
Blood, yeah.
And the lady's like,
do you really want them?
Do you really want them back?
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's the thing I think is amazing. And again, my favorite part about it is when you have a great horror film that is also a political allegory, you realize your daughter's going to high school. You look around the country. We haven't had so many during the pandemic, right? But the active shooter situations where some kids just explode, right? Their rage comes off of what they're playing video games, goes into the high school and impacts an entire generation of a school system, right? And I think that's the amazing thing about this movie is that it's got that really sharp edge with regards to an allegory about active shooters and about different, like how our high schools are interacting with the real world, right?
Right.
And I just think, she's such a good actress. She might be one of the better actresses we see going forward. And depending on the project she gets and the agent she has, she has a Jodie Foster quality to her. She's on top of everything right from the get-go as a star.
Yeah, she has unbelievable screen presence. Joe, I'm sorry, JW and I could talk movies like till the cows come home. We are literally movie geeks. Joe, what did you think of it? I didn't really get to talk to you about it.
I thought it was excellent. And it just seemed strange to me, though, that these high school kids were making so many 80s references.
You know what's funny, though?
Like Bon Jovi and E.T. and...
The 80s, part of it, and David and I have talked about this, but not about this particular movie, but the reason there are so many references with regards to like 80s movies, and for whatever reason, our generation, David, and we're probably in the same generation, those movies are being shown to kids in high school. Like those movies are being actively pushed as you need to see this. This is like a rite of passage. You need to see Gremlins. You need to see Ghostbusters. You need to see whatever. And I think that this is one of those filmmakers that basically, you know, the kid in the movie really likes movies, so he's definitely going to see. You know, the one that comes out of the blue is Dr. Strangelove.
Right.
That's the one where you go, okay, so this kid is probably, you know, in charge of the AV group at school. You know what I mean? Like, because nobody brings up Dr. Strangelove, and I immediately turned to my wife. I'm like, that's a great reference. I'm like, nobody's going to get it, but that's, for me, that's like, I'm sold.
You know, JW, also what was great about that film was that every single high school character that they portrayed, the character of the kids, was somebody that we knew at some point in our lives.
Yes, and they also didn't portray them like Heathers has a kind of nasty twinge to it where everybody is not actually real. And I think the one thing about Spontaneous that is a little bit different from Heathers, again, I'm going more razor sharp stuff. But the one thing going for Spontaneous is that all these kids are not only real, but they're kids that you have seen in high school.
Right.
And they're not necessarily, they could come across as assholes, but in reality, they're probably just like, they just want to have a joke when they're at the football game. You know, they just want their jerseys to line up properly so they make something offensive for the crowd.
No, absolutely.
You know, we've met those people.
These kids in this high school, unlike the ones in Heathers, all actually cared about each other and looked out for each other. Where the kids in the high school in Heathers were literally in like wolf packs.
But I think that's a generational thing. I think that's the director of this film, Brian Duffield, looking at everything and realizing that this generation of kids, including your daughter, right? There is a compassion, emotion that they have that I don't know that we had in the 80s and 90s. I think we were cruel, like we were systematically cruel at times.
Yes.
And our movies reflected that.
That's why we're schmucks and want to kill each other when MCU movies come out.
Yes. You're still wrong, David. You're still wrong. But what I would say is, I think he really taps into that zeitgeist that we're all in this together, and the world kind of sucks. And how do we make it through? I just want to survive. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the overwhelming things in the movie, and I think that's great.
That's fantastic. JW, would you stick around in the green room and come on a little bit later to say hello?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, JW. Ladies and gentlemen, JW, the film is called Spontaneous. It was a fantastic film.
Available on Hulu. So if you have a Hulu account, it's free.
And it's free on Amazon, too. So if you have an Amazon, it's easy to find. Just a fantastic movie. JW, I'll see you in a little bit, pal.
Awesome.
So, yes, that movie's fantastic. Everybody, I'm sorry I got into a really long conversation with JW about it because it's very rare that I get so excited about a film, but that film just had so many really cool things going for it. And I want, I love everybody who watches our show. And when I can introduce them to something that's just so unbelievably cool, I'm excited to do so. With that being said, is the cult icon himself, Grunkle Scott, around?
I believe he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my co-host, my dear friend, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo. How are you, Grunkle Scott?
I'm good, boys. How are you?
How was your week, my friend?
Oh, man, hectic. In fact, I feel really badly. I'm falling behind. I was hoping to see that film by tonight because you reached out to us to turn us on to it earlier in the week. And, I know it's available everywhere. It's also now on our Plex as well, but I didn't have a chance to see it. Hey, Scott Meany, love you, man. I'm just like really falling behind lately on a lot of stuff, but all good. Everything's good. But I wanted to catch some of some of our guests' show too wasn't able to do too much of that either. So I feel like, I'm dead weight tonight.
You look like you were going to say something, Joe.
I've got nothing after that. I don't know what kind of sound effect to make.
Waka waka.
I was going to call Scott a slacker, but hey, whatever.
Well, it's funny. The artwork. I thought it was a like a teen comedy love story. I had no idea it was a horror.
No, it's really just it's a very difficult movie to describe. In all fairness, it's not super gory. I disagree with JW because I think all the gore and the violence is very cartoonish in a way. I don't see it as
and it's implied. It's
right.
not.
Yeah, it's not brutal or grotesquely. But I mean, there's a lot of blood. He's correct about that. But it's I think it's kind of more cartoonish. But you know what? Maybe it is overly violent. I don't know. But I just think it's a great film. All the love coming in from Mr. Schiaffo. Sean, I hope you are well, my friend. I hope everything's healing up in your hand as well. And hello to CJ and AJ and Scott and everybody who's watching. All right. I have kept our lovely guests in the green room way too long. Not only, it's not all the time that you get to have a guest on your show who's on the biggest television show in the world right now. She is literally one of the featured cast members and one of the stars of the biggest show in the entire world right now, Mare of Easttown. She's a dear friend of mine now for well over a decade. And not only was she in this wonderful Mare of Easttown, the poor soul also had to be in Mr. Hush with me. I'm heartbroken that she had to endure that. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a fine actress and a dear friend, Miss Connie Giordano.
Hi, David.
How are you, sweetheart?
Funny. Good. How are you tonight?
I am doing very, very well. Where are you
Great.
these days? Are you in Pennsylvania?
I am. I'm in Philly, and I'm very happy that I'm in Philly because I've gotten to avoid a lot of the mess of what's going on in New York and in downtown Philadelphia with COVID. So I'm happy that I'm where I am. I'm in the suburbs.
Well, before we get to your blockbuster hit show, I want to get to know you a little better.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about where your parents. Now, I have been blessed to actually work with you and see what an amazing professional you are and
Right
what a great
back
actress
at you, David. Right
Oh, thank
back
you.
At
What an amazing professional and what a great actress you are. Tell us a little bit about while you were growing up, what inspired you to do this type of work.
Sure. I think, I would definitely say I owe it all to my mom and dad. They took me to a play in Philadelphia. I saw one of the original versions of The King and I with Yul Brynner. I was about
Wow.
8 or 9 years old. Yeah, I remember. And I just fell in love with theater. And so it kind of started there. And I just have done it ever since. My sister and I did all the performing in school, the talent shows and the plays, and then high school. And I did community theater and then went off to college. And that's where it started. I was about 8 or 9 years old and just fell in love with the stage.
Sweet. Now, I remember 2010. We're going to get to your blockbuster show. That's what everybody wants me to talk to you about, but we'll save that for last. In 2010, we met, and you auditioned for my film, Mr. Hush, and you were absolutely fantastic. And and Connie, that silly little movie that we made in Northeast Pennsylvania
So
10
much
years
fun.
ago. 10 years ago
Yep.
has it's made 5 top 10 lists and has been seen by over 3 million people. Can you believe
that's
that?
wonderful. Congratulations,
Well,
David. That's so awesome.
Thank you. It was just, and when we made it, we really didn't have, it was supposed to really just be a small convention film that, all of us could go out and do horror conventions and show the film. But luckily it got picked up and it had a little bit of a life of its own. What was it like, these are questions that I was not able to ask you as, when I was directing the film. But what was it like working with the late, great Steve Dash?
Oh gosh, he's such a doll. I'm so sad he's no longer with us. he was just such a prince. I mean, this gentleman was royalty, the New York City policeman, and yeah, he was just so much fun. You know, David, he was just a doll to be around. He met my parents. I remember because they came up. He just absolutely just you just loved him from the minute you met him. I'm so sorry to know that he's no longer with us because he was just a gem. He really was. He really was.
He really was. I know, and I want to tell everybody that you have to have the windows open in your
Yes.
beautiful home because
The
you're
air
was you
condition just died.
yes, and I will.
I had someone out last week and they said, hey, it's going to need a part. We're going to order it. It's not here. So I said, great. And they said, you'll get a few days out of it. And of course, went up to 90 today. And then I got the lights on. But that's okay. I will let you know. These are not crises, right? But yes, as a moth goes flying by. I have a screen door, but whatever.
Now, when we made Mr. Hush, sadly, your character meets its demise, and Joe,
I love it. Oh gosh.
uh,
So
You
Can
said
you-
demise.
yes,
I love
yes.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
right. No spoiler alert.
Can you
Oh,
can you
this is
share a
so
little
cool.
bit of what it was like? Because that was, as I recall, quite an intensive makeup. Because in the
Yeah.
film, you get your throat slushed by either Stark or
Yes.
Mr. Hush, and in the film, we literally had tubes coming up through your top.
That's
And
right.
prosthetics on your neck where blood was shooting out of the. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to do that makeup.
I just remember that it took a long time, of course, and I think I remember that it was like really, wasn't it cold and raining? I remember the weather was all over the place that week, that those couple weeks that I was there, and so I just remember that it was cold and I had to sit for a really long time, and I couldn't move my neck very much, and it was freaky. I still have that picture. As a matter of fact, it's so funny. I had to go back to my day job back then. I worked in pharma, and the vice president of my group showed that picture at a meeting for a major pharmaceutical company out of the blue. I had no idea he was going to do that. The whole group just jaw dropped. I was in shock. I'll never forget it. But yeah, and it was that picture with me with my not exactly pretty. Yes,
It would have been
but
good
it was
if
so cool.
it would have been good if it was for a skincare product. If
Yes.
they
Oh my gosh. I just remember being shocked and horrified, no pun intended. But yeah, it was that was such a wild ride, David. I remember I was walking on air, being there. I just had such a ball. It was so much fun and everybody was so nice. It was just terrific to work with everybody. I had a ball. And you
Well,
did such a great job.
Thank you very much. I mean, Scott and Joe, here's somebody who you can actually grill and who knows me well, and you can get all the dirt on me.
It was like summer camp. That's what it felt like, and I didn't want to leave because I had a role that they had continued filming after me, and I was like, I have to go back to my day job. I could cry the whole way home. I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, I remember our rap party was pretty epic too. It was just such a great time.
Yeah.
All right, enough of reminiscing about our Mr. Hush days.
The glory days.
Yes. Well, these are
No, I
these.
got one more picture.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's rad. Oh, there's Amanda. Look
But-
at her. I can't believe how grown up she is.
The Price family. There you go.
Yes.
That's when actually after a 16-hour shoot, we all went to an Italian restaurant called Len and Joe's and had a wonderful Italian dinner.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yes, and
Yeah,
that's
I'm gonna
Brad
ball.
Laree, of course, from X-Men 2 and Halloween. He played Michael Myers also, and just a really, I think he was on our show already. And that's my beautiful daughter Amanda, who played Holland's daughter. Just what a wonderful time that was. It was just
It
such a great.
was.
Yep. And
It was.
can you believe she's leaving for college in September, Connie?
Oh, and she
it's a-
does so well. She's so bright. I have followed you on Facebook with all the great news about me, and I'm so happy for you. She's such a bright, beautiful little girl.
Aw, thank you.
She is. It just makes me feel old.
Well, speaking of bright, beautiful girls, Connie, let's get back to you.
Oh.
Now, how in the world
Hmm.
did you get involved with what is the hottest show in the world right now?
Well, the short answer is it was a gift from God, in my opinion, David. I mean, I really feel that way. I mean, praise God, it's such a blessing. But I auditioned in Philadelphia and didn't hear for weeks. I mean, it was like that cliche thing. I did not hear for weeks. I didn't get called back. And I remember it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was on my way to a new day job. And I get an email from my agent, and she said, congratulations. And she said, they don't even need to call you back. And I just started screaming in the car.
Wow, that's
I was on
great.
Route 76 in like the traffic, the rush hour traffic going down to Philly. And the commute to Philly is just like Manhattan. It's brutal.
Mhm.
So, I was just sitting there in like bumper to bumper traffic. And I had to sit in a meeting all day for about 4.5 hours with this new team. Then they were going on and on about all the marketing plans they had for the year and what my role was going to be. And I didn't know anything about this show except that I got cast and that it was HBO. And I did just sit there on my hands for half the day in this meeting, pretending to care about what they were talking about. And I was like, yeah, like looking out the window, like, I'll just jump out now. I just wanted to get in the
Oh
car and go home and
man.
talk to my agent. That's all I wanted to do.
So you
So
so
that's
you
how it
sh-
happened.
so you show up, and all of a sudden you're in a scene with Kate Winslet,
Mhm.
and Evan Peters is involved in this. I mean, were you intimidated at all with working with these folks?
No, I didn't even, God forgive me, I didn't even know who Evan was. And my nieces were the ones that were like, oh my God, he's from American Horror Story. And I'm like, oh my God.
He's also
I just,
Quicksilver.
yes, I heard that. And I was a fan of the first X-Men movie, but I don't think I caught up with the other ones. And I think he went on in later ones, right? I
Hmm.
think I only saw the first one, if I remember. So, no, I mean, I did have a moment when on the first day on the set, we sat around and did like a little bit of a table read and talked about the story and characters. And I did have a moment where I like looked over, I'm like, I'm sitting next to Rose from Titanic. That did occur to me once, but she's so professional, and everybody was just so professional, David, that you just get over that and you just do the work. You just focus on what you're there to do.
Where was
It's
that? Where did you shoot? Where was that shooting?
We filmed all in the Philadelphia area. The writer of the show is from my area in Berwyn, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. So we were all over. Easttown is it's kind of it's an actual township. There is a Westtown, Pennsylvania, and so the writer, Brad Inglesby, he really wanted to show the hometown feel of Delaware County, which is what I'm sure you've heard about this a bit. It's all the show's been popular because of the Delco accent. It's filmed all around Delaware County and Chester County, where I live, all around Pennsylvania. It was cool. It was a great commute. It was easy for one.
Now, what do you think? What do you think the formula is to this show that has made it so unbelievably popular?
Well, I think first of all, it's an original screenplay. This isn't something that's been seen before. I think it's a combination of things, David. I think the star power of Kate Winslet, the story is this mystery that just the plot keeps turning and twisting, and that's what I keep hearing from people. I get messages every week like, I think I know who it is, and of course I can't say anything, but I get messages every single week from people thinking they know who it is. And like, to my delight, when I read it, and it's seven episodes, I kept thinking that I knew who it was, and then I'd find out the next episode I was wrong. So I think that's part of it. It's this mystery and intrigue just runs throughout it, and there's a lot of subplots going on at the same time. So I think it's the combination of all these things.
So
I
they
will.
they're keeping you in the dark, sort of, in the sense of you
Yeah.
don't get to see ahead. Wow,
Oh,
that's awesome.
correct. Yes, and it's funny. Some people that were even in it don't know the ending. I'm not going to reveal either way if I do or not. All I can tell you is that it's probably who you least expect. It's great.
I wish I got to get caught up on it, but there's so
Yes,
many
you
wonderful
do.
people in that. Did you get it? Did any work with Tim Daly? Because I know Tim Daly's on that, right?
No. So it depended on who you were with, of course. So I worked with Kate, Jean Smart, Evan Peters, and David Denneman, who's Roy from The Office, who I was a
Right.
fan of. So as soon as I saw him, I'm like, Roy. Yeah, I'm sure he's heard that for 10 years. Yeah. So of course, depending on who you were with and all that, and of course, Mackenzie Lansing, she plays my daughter. So. Yes, no, I did not meet him, not to my knowledge, no. But and also John, oh forgive me, I'm forgetting his last name right now. He plays the sergeant. He plays uh Mayor Sergeant in the story. I'm forgetting his last name right now, but he was lovely, lovely to work with too. Yeah.
That
Now,
is fantastic. Sounds so. Congrats. That's a wonderful, wonderful cast to be a part of. Wow.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
Yes.
you
Thank
know,
you.
Scott, this is actually a great story because she's a wonderful actress. She's paid her dues in doing crappy films with guys
Well,
like
yeah,
me.
I want to say
And
something about that. I want to know how you worked with this guy. Wait, this guy, how you work with this guy and went on to what you're doing. And I'm stuck working with this guy now for years. I can't get out of it.
You're so funny. Well,
I'm
you know,
kidding. I'm
Stephen,
kidding.
we
I
have
love
the
the guy.
yes, of course. I would work with you again in a second. We
Absolutely.
have the Tom Churchill connection. That's how we met. Tom Churchill and I did one of his films years ago in New York, and he was out in LA when you were doing Hush, and he just reached out and then he connected me with David, and that's how that happened.
and
So
you also brought the other young, beautiful lady on board of the film.
yes,
Yeah,
Alexis, who just
yeah.
got married. She just got married. She's
Oh,
down
yeah.
in Florida.
She's doing some wonderful things too. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody's doing wonderful things except Mr. Hush himself, who's a crazy, who's like showing up on,
Oh,
who's showing up on Trevor Noah and all these things because he's just gone batshit crazy. I love the guy, but he's batshit crazy. I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole, but
Oh, I love it.
yeah, he's
you
fantastic.
drank the Kool-Aid.
He drank the Kool-Aid, yes. So the last episode I seen, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, was the one where where Evan and Kate Winslet went to go to that house with the owner of the van. And I will tell, and I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet.
Right.
But Connie, I will tell you that 10-minute sequence, like riveted me to my very core. I did not see what was going to happen,
I
and
know.
it was what makes it such wonderful TV. Now I don't know if you were watching it watching earlier. We were talking about a film called Spontaneous that none of us have anything
Yes,
to
I
do with.
heard you talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, and what's so exciting is that of late there seems to be some really really wonderful stuff coming out, and that's why. First off, the minute I saw you on, I don't know if you remember this. I either IM'd you or put under one of your pictures how proud of you I am of you. And honestly,
Thank you.
fantastic. I'm almost speechless. The show is just so smart, and it's so hip, and it's so well acted, and it's such a master at misdirection. Do you think that with the unbelievable popularity that the show has, that it could continue after these first set of episodes?
So it's a good question, David. Some people have asked me that. You know, it was presented to me as a limited series.
Mhm.
I've heard rumors that Brad is coming back to the area. I don't know if that's true. I do know, that most of the production team, including Kate Winslet, are not from this area. So, I would imagine that it would be an enormous task to try to continue it. But I mean, because it's had such success, perhaps that's in the works. I'm low man on the totem pole, so nobody's reached out to me or told me anything. But it would be wonderful. It certainly would be wonderful, and I understand that this was written over a course of a couple of years. So, as far as I know, there's no season 2 in the works at the moment. But even that, I would expect would take some time.
Yeah,
But
I can't
if it
imagine.
could, great.
I can't. Yeah. Plus, they would need to bring your character back. That would be awesome.
God willing.
Yes. You would think, though, with a show that is so abnormally popular, that's a distinct possibility.
It could be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joe, is JW still with us?
I believe he is.
Can we bring up my friend JW for a moment?
Sure thing.
Hey, JW, I know that you're Connie, this is my dear friend JW. He was actually
Hi,
a good
JW.
friend of Mr. Hush's. When Mr. Hush came out, he helped us promote it on NBC, and was just a great guy.
Wonderful.
And JW also is a fan of Mare of Easttown. JW, you have anything you want to ask Connie about the show?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. Not necessarily about the show, but more about like where Connie sits. So I'm from PA myself. I live in Florida now, but you're talking about the show. One of the things about the show that's a little bit quirky is the very specific things it has going on about PA life. And I think that's one of the great, like one of the authentic things about it is all the things that are getting pumped into the show. So I got to ask you, you're a girl from Philly. You don't actually like Rolling Rock instead of Yingling, do you?
I know. I've heard that so many times.
That's
You know,
that is
so
such
funny.
a that is like that's offensive almost to PA folks. Like the Rolling Rock versus Yingling debate is one of the great things going.
I know, it's so funny. And I did notice they did sneak Yingling in there a couple times in some of the later episodes, and I think a lot of people were like, I'm more of a Blue Moon girl myself. So
Slice of orange. Okay, fair enough.
I
Fair
don't
enough.
subscribe to the Rolling Rock thing, but I appreciate it, and I think that was part of like our growing up. I mean, that's what people drank,
Yes.
and I know they had another nickname for that beer, which I'm not going to say. So
Yes, that's true.
yeah, so
And-
but you're right. Like the reference to Wawa, and there's references to lots of places in our area. I mean, and the big one I keep hearing, and you may have seen the spoof on SNL, which was hilarious, but
Yes.
everyone says to me, "Are you having a hoagie today?" It's so
Yes,
funny.
because it's not a grinder, it's not a sub, it's a hoagie.
It's a hoagie.
Wawa hoagie. Also, just a quick question: like, how is like Jean Smart is having a moment right now, right? She's on Mare of Easttown. She's on Hacks, which is on HBO Max. Is she like? Is she's feeling it right now? Like when you're on the set with her, just like
she's
on
a
top of the
delight.
world.
I have been a fan of hers since Designing Women, and first of all,
Yes.
she's about 6 feet tall. So,
Really? She's very tall?
yeah, she's very
Tall
tall.
drink of water. Yeah.
And she's just lovely. She's just so lovely and so warm. And she, I have seen her over the years. She was on Frasier. She's been in some Hallmark movies lately. I mean, I think she's pretty much. She was on Broadway. I think she's worked pretty consistently, and so she was definitely. I was a little starstruck with her on set. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
absolutely. I
terrific.
Good.
She brings the
Congratulations.
humor, I think.
Yeah, well, she's been a Titan since Designing Women, and
Yes.
then everything after it, probably before too. But Designing Women where you and I grew up with her, probably David grew up with her, Scott and everybody, and Joe. But congratulations on the success of the show. I hope you get a second season. HBO is tough these days. They're very competitive with not giving second runs to first season shows. But I hope you get it. It looks like it's a great show and it's doing very well. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, JW.
Thank you, David.
Absolutely my pleasure.
I have an actor question, Connie. You
Mhm.
said you went in, and did you read cold from the script and then bang, no callback, you were in?
I had 2 days notice to perform 2 scenes for them.
So you had the sides, it wasn't
I
cold.
had the sides. No, it was not cold. And I do remember that I couldn't even begin working on it till 9 o'clock the night before because I had some obligations, and I had my father for dinner that night. I'm like, I really gotta get to work. Just a couple days notice, but thankfully, Heary Casting out of Philadelphia, they're tremendous casting directors, and Jason Loftus is part of it. It's actually called Heary Loftus Casting now. He was a great help. He was a great person to read with. That's happened. If you have someone you can work with easily, and he was with me. It was terrific. So they made my job easier. That's for sure.
Wow, dynamite. So happy for you. That's such a great story.
Thank you.
No, this is probably the most important question I'm going to ask you. Was it more impactful working with Kate Winslet or Dave Madison?
You're so funny. I'm going to say 50-50 there.
50-50?
Even David, I think that's fair, right? You gave me my
What a safe answer.
It's a great answer. The good thing going for you, David, is you weren't bringing Oscar to the set either. I don't think Kate brought hers either, so I think you're okay.
My driver's name was Oscar, actually. You know what?
ahead.
I did something for Connie that no other filmmaker could probably ever do for her. I got her to work with Stephen Jeffries.
Who I was a fan from before Fright Night. I don't know if you remember a film he was in with Kevin Dillon and Andrew McCarthy.
Yes,
called
I was
Heaven
in the
Help
movie.
Us.
I was in Heaven Help Us.
You were? I didn't
Yes.
know that.
I'm the kid playing handball in the schoolyard with
how
Stephen
sweet.
Jeffries,
I
and
didn't
that's
know that.
yeah. We shot that in Ridgewood. It's actually
Ridgewood?
Queens, but yeah.
Oh, Richard Queen, sure.
Yeah, it's some people call it Brooklyn, but it's actually Queens.
Yes.
At St.
yes.
Aloysius
I've been
Grammar
there.
School. It's supposed to be a high school, but it was actually St. Aloysius Grammar School that they shot that movie
David,
at.
my sister and I absolutely worshipped that movie as kids. And
I lived that movie.
That's so funny. And I don't remember the actor's name, but he played Caesar. He played the poor geeky guy that was they kind of tooled on a lot.
Yeah.
That movie was brilliant. Mary Stuart Masterson, she was so young. I mean, Andrew McCarthy, and it made you hate Catholic school.
And just
but
like
it was awesome.
And just like poor Caesar, I got stuck going to Queens College.
Gosh, I remember. That's right.
You know what's
wanted to go to Harvard.
Yes. JW, you probably remember who played the. Did you see that movie, Heaven Help Us?
Heaven Help Us is one of the most underrated gems of the 80s.
Wallace Shawn steals that movie.
Wallace Shawn. That's
Wallace Shawn, but are you talking about for Caesar? It was an actor named Malcolm Danare.
Right, he went on and did Godzilla, correct? The one with Matthew Broderick.
I think he was a bit player in the Matthew Broderick Godzilla. He was also in. He's in Christine. He gets killed in Christine. He was in The Lords of Discipline. Yeah,
It
he
also had Kevin Dillon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Kevin Dillon
was hilarious. In it.
He's also highly underrated in the horror gem Popcorn, which is one of the most ridiculous '90s horror films ever made.
I never saw it. Popcorn.
Popcorn's about it's about a movie theater person that goes crazy during an all-night horror-thon.
Oh.
And basically, there's a whole subplot, and they're running all-night screening, and then the killer is doing famous movie scenes.
Interesting.
Pretty good
Connie,
stuff, actually.
Connie, did you see Steven with Tim Robbins in Fraternity Vacation?
I did not.
Wow,
Stephen Jeffries.
Fraternity
Vacation.
Yeah.
Did not. No.
That's another hidden gem. And he also did At Close Range, right? With Sean
he's
Penn
in
and
At
Christopher
Close
Walken.
Range.
Love that.
Part of the
film.
gang, the teenage gang, the Penn
Stephen,
brothers.
I don't think and I just recently saw some of that again. That was another brilliant, underrated movie. Christopher Walken.
That's another Pennsylvania movie.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Is it really?
Well, I mean, I
didn't
think
know
the original
that.
story happened in Pennsylvania, did it not? JW, you aware of that?
Which wait, we're jumping movies.
Close
Which movie?
Range.
Close Range.
I think it was Pennsylvania,
That's
but
It's based
I think
on
it
a
was out
true
near-
story.
It was out near Pittsburgh, I believe, right?
Yeah, based on a true story for sure. Great
Christopher
movie.
Walken is just one of those versatile actors. He can just play absolutely anything. I think he's fantastic, and he was. I remember he was chilling, and he was. He's always been one of my number ones from the Dead Zone, the original.
Oh yeah, great film.
That's
great
one of
film.
my favorite of all time. I mean, that's just one of those classic horrors from the 80s. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Connie, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Of
You are
course.
absolutely beautiful and charming as always.
Oh,
I
thank you.
actually dream of the opportunity of working with you again.
Thank
We're
you.
never going to make another Mr. Hush because Mr. Hush is batshit crazy in real life, but it would be an absolute blast if we got to do it.
That would be awesome, David.
Can you tell our viewers and our friends out there from one last thing before Connie leaves? I know that literally hundreds and hundreds of filmmakers, both indie and Hollywood filmmakers, watch this show. Mm-hmm. And if you are casting something, I cannot speak more highly of Connie as not only an unbelievably great actress, she's always super prepared, super professional, super on time. I can not give a higher suggestion to all filmmakers out there who watch this program if you're casting something, to give Connie a call because she's really, really super talented and
David,
super
you're gonna
fantastic.
make me cry.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm just being honest. Connie, can you tell everybody out there where they could find you on social media or of any
Sure.
upcoming things you got going on?
Of course. So, of course, the website, ConnieGiordano.com. Sorry, I know that's Like shameless self promotion, but I have to do it. You can find me on Instagram at Connie Giordano 3. Of course, I'm on Facebook, so you can catch me. There's going to be some interviews coming up, which will be also on Facebook as well and Instagram. So, as far as what's next, I'm not permitted to say anything yet, but I'm hoping that I get to announce something exciting soon. We'll see.
If you get to announce something exciting, would you be kind enough to return on this show and possibly announce it here? That would be awesome.
Of course, David.
Connie,
We'll
my dear,
stay in
thank
Good
you for
luck.
being. Thank you so much for being a dear
you.
friend. Thank you for
Thank
so
you.
many wonderful memories that we got to share together. And thank you for Mare of Easttown. It's a wonderful show, and you're a wonderful part of it.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy
Congrats.
it, guys. And thanks so much for having me.
It was absolutely our pleasure. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Connie Giordano.
Thank you.
Thank
Please
you
give
again.
my love to Eleanor, please.
I will, sweetheart. Be well, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, what a
Wow.
sweetheart.
Very
You know
much
what's
so.
it's so wonderful. It's wonderful that somebody can come from independent films and really do, the hustle. And Scott can tell you this more than anybody. The absolute hustle and nightmare it is to have to. The things you have to do to just get your foot in the door in the filmmaking business. And when you see somebody who's kind and a lovely person and down to earth and really just fantastic, it's just super to see somebody like that get involved with something as big as Mare of Easttown. And she's got a serious part. She has odds as being the killer, so she's, I mean.
You want to know a fun fact, though?
Yeah.
Brian Enright is a background actor in some of those episodes.
Yeah, he told us that on our last one of our last episodes. Brian was involved in that show, and Brian's he's another great actor, and he was involved in Zack Snyder's new film.
Right?
Right.
The interesting thing there with, when you talk to somebody and good karma goes the right way, it's nice. Because the world is kind of soul crushing sometimes, and when you meet somebody that's very nice and you've had good experiences with, and then all of a sudden, they get their foot in the door and they get a chance, and then they're talking about, like, I'm hanging out with Gene Smart and I'm hanging out with Kate Winslet and Evan Peters, who I think that's a great story. Like, my nieces were excited that I knew that I was with them. It's like,
Nobody
Yeah,
mentioned
he's-
Kick-Ass.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Carrie and I are huge Evan Peters fans. I mean, the guy's amazing. He's wonderful. He's been in a million things. He's logged a zillion hours of American Horror Story alone. That guy's great.
And then there
Yeah,
are guys,
chameleon. He's an absolute chameleon with regards to being an actor.
and then
Yeah.
there are guys you spent 4 years with at college. You literally stood next to him in the student union building when you're a security officer and he's the pizza maker. You could lend this guy $600. He could become the biggest guy in Hollywood, and then he doesn't take your phone calls. Johnny Favreau. So not everybody stays the unbelievable sweetheart that a lot of these folks who make it are. And I'm super proud of Connie for moving on to doing Mare of Easttown. I hope she does more stuff because she's just such a cool person. So let's get back to spontaneous.
I have to
That's
see it.
what I was going to say about Spontaneous. The young lady who played the main actress, she reminded me of, I'm going to draw a blank, Chloe, what's her name? From
From
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass.
Yeah, she
Right.
reminds me a lot of her.
Chloe Moritz Chris.
Right.
Yeah. She does. But she's, like, I would argue, like, the interesting thing about her, Joe, right now is her place in the world. More people know about her than they know about Evan Peters, like, in reality, because that Netflix show 13 Reasons Why is one of the hottest things going. She's the lead on that show. She's been doing it for a couple of years. She got Cursed as an extra thing, and then she's got this and a couple other things she's working on, including Knives Out. Just jumping into that, she's well on her way to being a superstar, like just a shining star.
Now we have a gentleman named Keith Hammer who said he was. I think he was in. Is he saying he was in Mare of Easttown? Is that what he's saying,
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. Been waiting for. Oh, I guess your scene hasn't aired yet. I think there's 2 episodes, Keith, that still has to be. And you saw Evan during shooting. Oh, sweet. So you don't think Evan? You think Chloe's a bigger star than Evan, JW?
I think Catherine with the regular masses, like Evan Peters is a mainstream star, but
Right.
Catherine Langford, I think, has a following that the 4 of us in these 4 boxes wouldn't necessarily equate. That's out there with the Netflix crowd that really, really loves her work.
Right.
So I think there's like right now with all the streaming going on, movies and streaming and television shows and all the different things going on, the levels of stardom have changed a little bit. So Evan Peters does American Horror Story. He does the X-Men movies. He does WandaVision, shows of WandaVision for a big thing. But she is known by a lot of people. That 13 Reasons Why show. My wife got giddy about that when she showed up in the movie. Oh, she's like, oh, that's her. I'm like 13 because I haven't watched the show. So I was like, oh. And she's like, no, she's really good. I can't.
Well,
wait to watch it now.
here's kind of another reason why I'm talking about it. I watched it on Saturday, and I reached out to her management, and Catherine's going to be doing our show in the next 2 weeks. So I'm super excited. She's also from Australia, so we have to work something out. But I am super excited, and I'm giddy because Spontaneous is the first movie in a long time that really, really like ignited my love of film, and like it's one of those films as a filmmaker that makes you jealous that you are not capable of doing something like that. I'm just being honest. I mean, that film is just it's perfect on so many levels, and I don't know if it's just been I've been so starved for a really smart, well-structured movie that it's maybe it's not as good as I think it is. But if you're watching the show, give it a shot.
It is.
It's just
No, it is. You're fine. You're absolutely right.
it's
Well, you
just
know what I think? I think JW might have been getting to this point in one way. In the landscape now, film is a very different part. A film is a very different part of the conversation than the massive amounts of streaming series shows.
Yeah.
Now, films as a one-off is 20, 30 years ago, film was like the thing. And you either saw it on the big screen or you couldn't wait to rent it or own it.
And Scott, you remember like way back when TV started, like my dad ran a movie theater. My dad always said there's a difference between a TV star and a movie star. Right. There's always a huge difference. We had the biggest fight of our lives the day 1988, we went to see Die Hard and the Deadpool on the same day. We got in a huge fight with my dad. My dad was like, oh, we're going to see a real movie star, and then we're going to go see your junky action movie. And my junky action movie is the greatest action adventure movie ever made. So
basically, Bruce Willis
was
invented
garbage. He was hot garbage. Right. And then that movie comes out, and he's one of the biggest stars on the planet. And I looked at my dad, and I'm like, so which one was better, Deadpool or Die Hard, Dad? Come on. Anytime you want to talk about it, we'll go. We can talk about this.
But in all fairness to your dad, though, at that time, Bruce Willis was the biggest TV star in the world.
Yeah, well, right. He was coming from Moonlighting, but my dad couldn't take him seriously because he's that guy every Tuesday night.
That was the mentality in those days. That really has changed in the last 10, 15, even 20 years, I guess. There's a big... That all started with HBO, I think. The crossing over of television and films and what you're going to do little screen.
The prestige.
Right, but now more than ever, there's a whole other... I mean, actors do it all. Whether it's on YouTube, it's on the big screen, or it's on one of these great streaming channels.
Can you imagine an Oscar-winning actress doing a television show in the 70s?
It never happened.
It would never happen. And look at what the announcement yesterday Netflix made. Schwarzenegger is not doing a sequel to True Lies in theaters. The True Lies kind of quasi sequel is going to be on Netflix. So we've gone through the looking glass, and where you can find quality projects is really kind of infinite right now, which is great for actors and directors and people trying to find that way.
Is that true? Willis was taken off the poster and put back on.
I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't think that's very possible.
It's possible, but it's not true. The original poster Die Hard's poster changed very little from when it opened to when it was. It was always a picture of
Nakatomi Plaza.
The
Nakatomi
building
Plaza and his
and
face.
half his face.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So it was always half. And what I would say for Scott is where he got mixed up and what it might mean is that if you're a big star, you got center billing on a poster, your whole face and part of your body and maybe other things. You know what I mean? Like other things. But Willis was hidden kind of like as the shadow face on Nakatomi Plaza because they were trying to get out what exactly the movie was about.
The action comedy cop thing was Willis and Eddie Murphy really created the action comedy cops. You know, that they could be funny
yeah,
and
I mean,
also serious.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Murphy stole Beverly Hills Cop from Stallone. Stallone passed on it.
Right.
He had it in production. Said, "No, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to work on." I think he worked on Rambo 4 or Rambo 3 or whatever.
Oh,
Rambo
no. It changed into Cobra.
Was it Cobra? That's exactly right.
It changed
85.
into
You're right.
Cobra.
Yeah, I'm going to make a more gritty action film.
Well,
How's
and he
that
put
working
his
out?
wife in it, right? I mean, she was like, that was her first big movie, the tall drink of water wife.
Bridget Nielsen.
Right.
You know, and also in films that that were changed, and we're talking about Bruce Willis. Not many people know this, but Tears of the Sun was actually originally a Die Hard sequel.
The writer is one of the people. Like they used a bunch of this writer's short stories and books that to do all the Die Hard sequels. They basically took all the plots. Like Die Hard 2 was like a book called In an Hour or something. Like it was some ridiculous thing where it was just a short story about terrorists taking over an airport, and it became Die Hard 2.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, JW, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Joe, pop JW up by himself for a moment. JW, tell everybody where they could find you and your podcasts and your reviews and such.
Okay, so I'm Florida Movie Guy on Facebook and Instagram and the Twitter. You can find our podcast. We're called Loud and Nerdy. I host with a great kid named Paul Spratt, a New York-based comedian who's fantastic. He's the loud, I'm the nerdy, obviously. We do that live every Tuesday night on Facebook, and you can catch us on Spotify. And we've made it into iTunes. So we're everywhere for your podcast needs. We have a lot of good things going on. We have the Badass tournament going on right now. Last week was kind of crushing. It was John Wick versus Black Widow. So there's all kinds of funny things going on there. And we usually do a poll once a week. We're just trying to figure out what people like and how they get, all their pop culture needs from our show. Loud and Nerdy every Tuesday night. That's where I'm at. And Florida Movie Guy on Facebook and Twitter.
Awesome.
I'm curious, where are you in Florida?
I am in Deltona. I am 45 minutes out of Orlando, 45 minutes out of Daytona. So I'm in the cusp of the drinking zone of Florida, and also any theme parks and or race cars that you could ever want within a 45-minute drive.
Gotcha. So yeah, I'm about 2 hours those ways on the Treasure
But
Coast.
Sunrail's coming our way, so I can come down and visit you before you leave your condo.
There you go.
Maybe like the four of us can go down. We could ref up some single A Mets players.
Oh, that's good.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Though I think Syndergaard's down there right now. He's a big dude, JW. I think maybe we'll sit that one out.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've met DeGrom and his family because they live. DeGrom's from DeLand, which is like one town over. So I met him and his family. He is a big kid. Like you think he's a big kid on television when he's throwing, but when he's standing next to you, you're like, "Hi, how are you?"
Yes, but he has like a 29-inch waist. He's like a beanpole.
He's a beanstalk. But like I said, family's super nice. They live in a small area out here, and he was super great when he came into my day job. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna rough him any players. Syndergaard, he's built like Thor. He's actually big.
JW, thank you.
I'm not a violent person, David. I'm just
Yes,
a lover, not a fighter.
I hear you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, JW. Thank you for
Thanks for
helping me
having
spread. Thank you for helping me spread the love on Spontaneous. It's a great film, and maybe we could get it to get a little cult following it deserves. Again, everybody, JW call. Thank you, Jay.
It was great meeting you, man.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you, Scott. Nice seeing you. Nice meeting you, Joe. Have a great day. Thanks for having me on.
Good night, JW.
Thanks,
Another one in the books.
all right. I'm not going to get in. Scott Meany, man, he's got some mean art and everything, and he tends to. No, I'm just going to leave that right there.
Okay, I believe that he's right then. He was taken completely off.
Mare of Easttown. And I blanked. I totally forgot that Brian actually mentioned it on the show. I was actually more announcing it for everybody else that was on there, here.
No, Brian, the man, the myth, the legend himself told us. Now, next weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so we're all going to be sipping martinis and laying in hammocks. So everybody who's watching us, we will return the following Sunday. Anybody have any idea what that date is?
Let's see. So next Sunday is, oh man, it changes months on me, and that would be the 6th of June. It looks like.
Oh, sweet. So we'll return on the 6th of June, and we're going to have, we're going to start with a whole bunch of superstar guests. So I'm super excited. I want to thank you.
It's David. Hold on. Scott's not getting excited enough.
That's as excited as he gets, brother.
Of course I'm excited. I'm wrapping my head around having a weekend off. I'm kind of been in a bit of a fog. As you've seen, I haven't been online much this week. We kind of got a new grind going on, and it's like when I'm out of touch with social media and whatnot, I feel like I've been out of touch for longer than a week, actually. But I'm just putting my head to the fact that we're off next weekend. So, of course, I'm excited.
All right.
And Joe, one other thing.
Yes.
We didn't push your lovely wife and daughter's company today.
Well, thank you very much. That would be the Hearts of the Mystic Folk. Man, I'm such a bad husband and father. Go check out their wax melts, please. They are very cool, made of all natural ingredients, smell awesome. We know some members, or I call them members, viewers, I'm sorry.
Our family. Some of our family.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Have burned some of them, and they can't say enough about them. We greatly appreciate that. And I just want to shout out to a couple of guys again. Havens for Heroes, thank you. Yes, it is the 6th. And Mr. Meany, great show, guys. Appreciate it. Ken is funny. Next weekend, damn it, I have to talk to him.
You know what? Maybe we should just give Ken our phone numbers and we can have a party line so he doesn't have to do that.
What else is he saying? I'm shooting the film this weekend for 4 days. Nice. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that the Indie Brigade Facebook page, it's starting to make a comeback. So I think we're going to try to get back to what we were doing initially. Obviously, it's not going to be the same people, but if anybody's interested in proceeding and doing an online show, get in touch with me, and I'd love to speak with you. Did that not work out right? I don't know.
You're awesome.
What did I did something wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong at all. You're
laughing your ass off.
I'm laughing because you get like scholarly sometimes, and I love that about you.
Scholarly,
like astute. You sit up straight. You're like, the Indie Brigade is coming back, and perhaps we can do more shows on. You get a little of a Stewie vibe.
This is how I'm going to do the show from now on. Pip pip cheerio.
Well, as everybody knows, no one loved our Indie Brigade family more than the three of us did, and that's why we continue doing our show. And so that's awesome news.
It was all about giving the people that experience and letting people. I get kind of choked up about this because we put so much work, time, and effort into it, and to see it go, can't do it. Can't see it just disappear.
Well, good for you. You're with the. I humbly consider you as the main architect of building that, and I'm glad that.
And that is actually all part of the Tech Defects Ultimate family.
Looks like it's going to become that way. I hope.
Okay, well that's cool. That's very cool.
Oh my God, I got to negotiate with him again.
So, yeah, I mean, Scott, you've always been a huge supporter, and Sean as well. Scott, I've already talked to Scott Meany about stuff in the past that I would love to bring him on for. But anyway, I apologize for keep interrupting. I'm just
No, no, dude, it's your show as much as it's mine. You're not interrupting anything. We only put my name on the title because I'm the best looking.
that's Mr. Schiaffo. I'm sorry, you lose by a hair.
This one right here. With that being said, I want to thank J.W. Colwell for being on our show tonight. He's such a knowledgeable guy, and he's just a dear friend, and it was nice to...
Quick.
He's quick. He's a smart movie guy. He really is. And I wanted to hear what his thoughts were on Spontaneous. Because, believe it or not, most of the time, J.W. and I are at each other's throats arguing about films. And the fact that he and I actually agree on one is like, hallelujah, we should have somewhere the media tower is burning down because nobody believes that JW and I agree on a film. But it's really that great of a film, and JW really is a smart guy. And
what brought it to your attention?
I absolutely was just clicking on Amazon, and it was just one of the boxes, and I said, let's give it a shot.
Literally just saw it on Prime as a suggestion.
It wasn't even, I guess it was under horror on Prime. It wasn't like one of the, sometimes they have ones that are literary suggestions. It was just on the box on Prime. Had no idea. You know what kind of makes this movie wonderful? And everybody who's going to seek it out after watching this, don't do a world of research on this movie beforehand. Don't get any spoilers. Just sit back and watch it. And what's so wonderful about this movie is that you can ask 10 different people, you know, what this film is truly about, and you're going to get 10 different answers, and they're all going to be right. That's the scary part. It's wonderfully unique. It takes no shortcuts. The acting is terrific, and you know, when you look at this movie, it had less than, I did some research. It had less than $1 million budget, which is very, very small. And you look at something like Wonder Woman 1984, was it, Joe? You probably know that. Wonder Woman 1984, which had a $236 million budget. You could have made 236 movies like Spontaneous instead of one piece of shit like Wonder Woman 1984.
Woo,
and
there it is.
Those are the type of things that, as a film lover, as a filmmaker, as a film historian, that make me batshit crazy. It is, Scott. I guarantee when you're done, when you watch it, Scott Meany, I am me, and tell me your thoughts. Because and anybody who watches that movie, any one of the End of the Night family or Indie Brigade family or any of my family who's out there watching this, if you want to, I am me, and tell me what you think of this movie. I would love to hear. That's what makes this movie so wonderful, is that you have so many different people seeing it through different lenses, different eyes.
Yeah. And JW said in the private chat, not a coherent thought to be had for $234 million.
True. And
Yes.
it was just that movie was an absolute nightmare. And Ken didn't like Army of the Dead. I haven't seen it yet, so I won't lambaste it. But
It's a 2.5-hour zombie movie. I've got my concerns about that.
yeah, I could
want to
imagine.
see Tig Notaro. That's all. She looks funny.
Oh, sweet.
No,
That's
we're
actually,
going to have a freaking review show, I think.
yes. No.
I think
mean,
they actually green screened her in.
who are you talking about?
Tig Notaro. I saw her on Ellen, and I don't know. I don't think they were joking. I think she got green screened into that film in the 11th hour because somebody dropped out.
I have to be totally honest and fair with you. I have no idea who that is.
If you saw a picture of her, you'd go, "Oh, her. She's a stand-up comic. She's been around a while. Very slender. Almost walks the line gender-wise. You know, she's out. She's gay, but she's you've seen her, believe me, because she's been around a lot in the last 5-6 years. But she's funny, and she was talking on Ellen how she was green screened into the film like in the 11th hour. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, sweet. With that being said, I see Haven for Heroes is one of our dear friends of the show, Emmett, who's been on the show. Emmett, I will see you at my house on Memorial Day weekend on the Sunday. I can't wait to have some barbecue with you and hang out. And if anybody is in the Orange County or the part of New York or the Pike County part of Pennsylvania, please stop in Haven for Heroes in Port Jervis. It's a great, great store filled with all your comic book and toy and baseball card and all that wonderful stuff needs. Go say hello to Emmett at Haven for Heroes. It's just a wonderful store. Yep, we will be back on the 6th. Scott, is there anything you want to say to anybody before we head out?
Just thank you all for being there. Thanks for the support and the love. June is a crazy month for me, as everybody knows. There's a certain sequel being shot that I'm kind of maybe possibly going to be showing up on, and that's all I know myself. And I've got like a 48-hour window, which, Dave, I need to talk to you about that off camera. And that's it. Thank you for all the love, for all the films, the book, the music, everything. I love you guys.
From what I understand...
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask him about
Did
you get the second shot, and was everything good? Did you get the second shot, and was everything good?
Oh, no, that's tomorrow morning, like first thing in the a.m. And
okay.
I don't do well with I'm not a morning guy, and I have anxiety about the second shot, so I'm not going to sleep tonight.
I'm sorry.
Well, I've heard on some other hack show that that the filming was pushed to July. Is that from what you understand?
No, well then that's news to me, and I wasn't told. I'm still looking at a June window.
Okay, I don't know. What the hell I know.
Scott didn't watch that hack show.
He didn't watch that episode.
Did you? No, are you being? Was it at all a reputable source?
Yeah, it's the star of the movie.
Oh well, then that shows you how I'm on the totem pole.
I only found out from being one of the 3 people who watch the show. So, with that being said, we love him. We're just kidding. We all know that. Joe, is there anything else you want to... You look like you like the cat got your tongue.
No, everybody who is still here, please make sure that you like and subscribe to David Lee Madison's The End of the Night Facebook page. Also, Tech Defects YouTube channel, where his shows are going to be archived. And that's all I've got. And
we will be back, June 6th, you said?
June 6th.
All right, everybody. We will see you June 6th. And as a great angel once said, no man with failure... What is the line? No man is a failure who has friends. Stop laughing at me, Schiaffo. You say it. It's not an easy line to say.
No, it's not, is it? As I'm hearing you say it, I'm realizing I don't know it verbatim either.
Okay. Again, everybody, no man is a failure who has friends. We'll see you next Friday.
Everybody think I should get a Floby like Dave?
June 6th.
A Floby? I don't like you, Ridgely.